Lee Martin from Bellarine Property joining you for the half-year market wrap. We thought with the end of the financial year upon us, we'd catch up with you and let you know how the first 6 months of 2025 has panned out. Now, with 2 interest rates behind us and expected to get a third shortly in July, it has very much buoyed the market for both young buyers, first-home buyers across the affordable markets in the bay side of the Bellarine. And we have seen a return of investors, specifically a lot of interstate investors coming into the market. So the parts of the markets that I work in that are going exceedingly well are probably the $550,000 to the $750,000 market, where the days on market is back to probably 30 days on average, far and away back from where it sat for most of last year at 60 to 90 days. The higher end of the market, acreage and lifestyle properties, are still going strong. We've had a great campaign at 74 to 84 Reserve Road in Drysdale, which has had 30 groups through in just the first 4 open homes, which are numbers we certainly wouldn't have seen at any stage last year. So confidence has certainly returned to the market. Now we'll throw over to Toby Lee in the Ocean Grove team to see what's been happening.
Yeah, thanks Lee. So in the Ocean Grove market, we're actually starting to see that custom built home really starting to take off. So we've had some really good results at 57 Omega, 18 Redwood and 6 Centre Circuit. So those homes are getting lots of attention, and that's that particular custom built home. And then across into the high end market, 121 Dare Street is starting to receive some offers, and 57 The Terrace is getting some great numbers through the open homes. So traditionally in the cooler months, we start to see less properties come to the market, but with such high demand, if you were thinking about going to the market this spring, maybe the cooler months are a good time to put your house onto the market. Levi, what's happening in Barwon Heads?
Yeah, thanks Toby. Well, if we look at what's happened across 3227, so Barwon Heads, 13th Beach and also Brimley, so for the first half of the year, if we compare it to the same 6 months last year, we are up, volume of sales are up by 17%. So we're seeing a good increase there. Now, interesting stat to have a look at is the median house price. So last year at this time, it was $1,637,000 across Barwon Heads. Now it's at $1,445,000. So we have seen a decrease there, but it's okay. What has driven that decrease? What we've seen is a real lack of sales and lack of buyer inquiry and interest in that $2 to $3 million range in the market, which if you look at Barwon Heads, traditionally we'd be selling 20, 25 homes a year in that space. So that has been a real challenge, that segment of the market. We are selling a lot of homes under 1.6, 1.7, and that continues now. So the 3 or 4 bedroom family homes up to that 1.6, 1.7 are performing really well this year. So if you do have one of those properties, like Toby said, and you're sitting on the fence, maybe going to go to the market in spring, why don't you bring that forward? Because we absolutely have buyers ready to go right now looking for something like that. Now, alternative to that, if you flip to the other end of the market, look at the ultra premium sort of stuff. So if we're looking at 4 million plus, that segment of the market's performed really well so far this year. We saw that at 12 to 16 Henley Street only last week here in Barwon Heads. Expression of interest campaign quoting 6.6 to 7.2 million. We had 2 parties offer on that. That one's selling really well. 4 Clifford Parade, Peter Walter sold that for above $4 million earlier in the year. 1 to 3 George Street, that was 1,000 square metres, average house. That sold in the mid 3s. We had competition, 3 buyers trying to buy that. And then 18 Stevens Parade, so a 550 square metre block selling for 3.3 million earlier this year. So if you've got that real premium stuff, it's selling well. We're just seeing a bit of a gap in the market around that $2-3 million range, as I said. If you look at the whole year so far at Bellarine Property, we've had some outstanding results, some really strong numbers, definitely an increase in sales from what we saw in the first 6 months of last year. So the market is starting to shift. Prices are staying steady and constant compared to they were falling a little bit last year. So that's positive to see. We're really even keel in the market. Entry-level price points across the whole Bellarine are performing well, and we suspect will continue to perform well. So far at Bellarine Property, we've conducted 416 appraisals for the year, which is a really solid number. So there's plenty of people out there looking to know what their property's worth. Reach out to us if you want an update on how it is sitting at the moment. We've listed 150 properties, so there is stock there. That's starting to drop down. If we just look at June, we sold 22 properties, but only listed 15. So what we're seeing is that starting to shift. Stock levels are dropping down, and we've sold 116 properties so far for the year. So we're really starting to get some buyer traction at the moment. As Lee said at the start, starting to see the effects of those 2 interest rate cuts. Should be 1 or 2 more on the way, which will further bolster the market for 2025. Appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next month.